Welcome in for another episode of 704 Unfiltered. Don't you love when you bring on a guest to a show and you don't even really tell them what we're going to talk about? You just bring them on to the show because you know it's going to be good conversation. But this is a good brother here. Look, I got a nice little intro for him. I'm gonna get him to rate it after I do this intro. So it's a man who wears many hats. He's an author, speaker, host, fashion connoisseur, and the creator of Black Fathers Rock. Not afraid to be himself and be vulnerable and refine himself. And also encourages men from all walks of life to do the same. Recently, he proclaimed that he's the best dressed. I'm going to read that again. Recently, he proclaimed he's the best dressed. We'll dive into that. He's also a part of the greatest frat in the land, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Yo.
I learned that last time, his last visit last year, turning 44 soon. You don't have to do that, man. Welcome, Ryan Jor, man. How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? I mean, listen, turning 44 is better than the alternative, that's for sure.
Oh, so you want to start with the 44 first?
I mean, we could go with the. Okay. So here's what I said. Let's start. Let's set it straight.
I just want to say, so when this episode comes out, you will already be 44 and some change.
I will already be 44 in however many days or weeks it is. So let me start with the best dressed comment since you started. Okay. I said I was the best dressed on the budget. That's what I said. So yes, there are some men in Charlotte. There's very few, like a handful, who may dress better than me. They also spend more money on their clothes than I do. I'm creative, right? So I make things come to life. If I told you where I got this suit from, you would not believe me.
Where did you get the suit from?
You want it for real?
Yeah, for real.
This is a Temu suit.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a pocket square from a thrift store. These frames are from Temu. The shirt is Charles Tyrwhitt, but I got it on sale. The shoes are the most expensive thing on me. They were custom. They're monogram. That's my normal. I'm just saying. And then the watches Invicta. So but you know, this might be a $200 like off. It's really like, it's just creativity. I can go buy a suit and the suit's gonna look good if I buy a name brand designer suit. But how do you put it together? What elements do you add to make it like your flair, your style? It's better than fashion. This is never going to go out of style, right? So that's what I said. Best dress on the budget.
I didn't get offended by that. I thought it was dope. I'm like, man, go ahead. All right, I say you, yeah. You one of the best dressed. I give you that. But I just know I'm playing devil's advocate. The devil doesn't need an advocate, but here I am.
Oh, that's actually true. I had to put my phone on D&D because I feel like people know my work. They're trying to call me.
Man, it's been almost a year since you stopped by the studio, man. You have a lot. You always got a lot going on. Lie in a good way. Look, life is life. Life is life.
Life is life. Yes.
Let's start from the beginning, though.
Okay.
Tell the folks where you're from, your connection to Charlotte, so on and so forth.
So originally from Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
It's about 45 minutes outside of Detroit, 15 minutes from the Ohio-Michigan border. There's actually a war about Toledo. Look it up. Toledo War.
Okay.
Ohio and Michigan fought over Toledo, and Toledo won. It's a waterway port, so that's where I'm from originally. However, moved to Charlotte in 1993. So the first year of the Carolina Panthers, they played at Erickson Stadium back then.
I remember that.
South Boulevard was 2 lanes, and the last thing on trying was Herlocker Hamburger. So I'm from here. I grew up in Roseland, Clant Park. You know what I'm saying? West Side, South Side, both of them. I did all those. Went to Olympic High School, graduated 2000. Went off to Hampton, got that first bill, came back home. Private school, out of state, no thank you. So I've been here a long time. I did a couple years in D.C. I loved it.
Yeah.
Did a year in northern Jersey / New York City working for a major retailer, and I hated it. And moved back to Charlotte about 10 years ago. So I'm from here.
Growing up, fashion? You spent like over about 12 years in fashion.
20
years. I'm sorry, 20 years.
Remember, I'm about to be an old man. 20 years in fashion.
Oh man, look, I'm 44. Where?
Yeah, thank you. They're great, isn't it great?
Who were your fashion influences growing up? Who did you look up to fashion wise?
Okay, don't like.
I'm not. Look, this is a safe space.
Literally nobody.
Okay,
so
right. I was not expecting that.
I would get inspiration and I would try things, and they would be not cool. So I've been called everything under the sun coming up in fashion industry as a straight man.
Okay.
I knew at 16 I had a knack. I didn't go to school for fashion. I went to school for business. But I knew at 16 I had something. And I'll never forget, there was one year I wanted a white belt. And people were like, "What? A white belt?" I was like, I want a white belt. And it was probably like 2002. And no joke, Kanye West came out with a white belt on at one of the award show, and the next week Express had a white belt. So I've always been like a fashion forecaster. I do credit my mom with how I was raised. I had school clothes. I had play clothes. When I came home from school, took those clothes off, put the play clothes on. That were probably too small. Shoes may have had a hole in number 2, but I was outside playing all day. So I give her the credit for me making sure myself and my brother looked the part every time we left the house, no matter where we're going. But I didn't really have that much inspiration. My pastor back then was one of the flyest guys as far as the suits are concerned.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, again, fashion and creativity, I get a lot of ideas, and I just go with it. And then it's not popular and it's not cool, and then 5 years later it is, and everybody's like these are personality frames. I've been wearing these since I was 17. So 1997. These are real. These are not real. Like I can see 20/20 vision, but I know. People that wear glasses hate me. They're like, "Oh my gosh,
that's me.
Why do you wear glasses?" No, these are perfect vision. But literally 1997, 98 junior prom, I had on personality frames and been wearing them ever since. So,
where did the confidence come from? Because I say this to say, there are not a lot of black men with confidence, right? We fake it, right? There are a lot of you fake it till you make it, right? But just like standing in, whatever you have going on, like where did that come from?
I think so. One thing people don't know about me, and I said it a little bit, I was bullied coming up. I've always been different. I didn't like getting dirty. I wasn't outside playing in the mud. I played sports, basketball, soccer, baseball. Yes, I actually played sports, but also sang in choirs and chamber choirs and ensembles and concert choirs and gospel choirs, and grew up in the church. So it's just a little different, but because I was so different and ridiculed so much, like after a while you just get thick skin. Like I told my kids this and they didn't believe it. So this 2-part, because I had long head, right? Long head. I had a low haircut, right? A little Caesar, you know what I'm saying? And people used to call me E.T. because I was skinny.
Don't laugh, Jay.
I was skinny.
Don't laugh.
I wore a size 9 in the 4th grade, and people would call me E.T. And then my kid said, "Who's E.T.?" And I said, "I failed as a parent." Because if you don't know who E.T. is, so we watched the movie, like literally 10 minutes later, I put it on, 1984, 82, I put it on 10 minutes later. I was like, "You're not going to be my kids."
Did it click for them?
No.
Okay.
But they were, when he came on the screen, they actually like gasped and were like, "Daddy, people used to call you that?" And I was like, "Yeah." So then fast forward, after all the bad things happen, you have to develop, to your point, a thick skin, right? Yeah. And so I knew that I had something different. And then also my faith really helps out with that too, right? Yeah. So me being someone who grew up in church and has a relationship with God since I was 12 years old, that really helps with my confidence. But also, like, I know who I am, and a lot of people struggle with who they are. They struggle with their purpose. They struggle with who they've been created to be, and I don't really have those struggles. So back then it might have been a little arrogant, but if you knew my story of how I got to this place of confidence, then you'd be like, it all makes sense now. So
did it ever rub people the wrong way?
Of course.
You mentioned arrogant, right?
Oh yeah.
And people can not know your story and see that part, right? And be like, I'm turned off. Did it rub people the wrong?
Of course.
How did that affect you?
Well, also for me, like, I was the nice guy in high school.
Yeah.
Nice guy in high school, and then after that, I got my heart broken, and then I was like, I'm the one getting the flowers and the balloons, but you want to go be with the football player that everybody's smashing, right? That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And then when I discovered nice butthole, everything changed. So that's really I found a happy medium. Yeah. And then I started to track with the women and so on and so forth, and then it got out of hand. And my 20s were crazy. So.
Man, I got more questions for our brother Ryan Jor here on live. I was about to say Live Impact. I've been doing all the shows today, man. It's 704 Unfiltered. That's the name of the show here on 704 Unfiltered. Let's head to break. I have more questions. We'll be back here in just a couple of moments. All right, welcome back here, 704 Unfiltered. I got the show name right. All right, we got our brother Ryan Jor. So, all right, so you talked about having that confidence. I want to jump the timeline a bit. You are super vulnerable on social media, and very transparent about what you're going through in different wherever you're at in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that come from, and why is that important for you to be so vulnerable?
So all of my answers tend to be the same.
Okay.
They're all God inspired. I'm not smart
Okay.
enough to think of this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? I'm not smart enough to think up Black Fathers Rock. It was an idea. I wrote it in a notebook, and now we're 9 years in, right? And so the vulnerability piece, also, I didn't grow up that way. So I didn't grow up being vulnerable. I didn't grow up saying I love you. I didn't grow up being emotionally available. That wasn't a thing. And then even as a man, you're not groomed for that. Women are groomed to be wives and mothers.
Yeah.
No one's grooming men and boys to be husbands and fathers. Like there's no knight in shining armor for men, right? Like that's just, there's no fairy tale for men. It's a women thing, right? And so for me, you know, I listen, I hear God, and then I do. And a lot of times it doesn't make sense in the moment, and then someone will circle back and say, 5 years ago when you sent me that text, it saved my life. Or, you remember last week when you said X, Y, and Z, like I've been going through the same thing, and it makes it relatable. And so people listen to me because I don't know how many men you have that are real about their lives, the good, the bad, the ugly. Typically social media is a highlight reel, but I tend to show a little bit of everything, you know, struggling with depression, being on medication, not working, being a stay-at-home husband. Like I've talked about all these things, and a lot of men aren't comfortable sharing that publicly, and it's mainly because we are not, safe spaces aren't created for us to share.
Yeah.
And so when I started Dialogue with Dads, which is a branch of Black Fathers Rock, where we create a safe space for men to share, I learned that men do talk if you give them opportunity to talk without being judgmental, without being what you should say. If they just talk and you let them talk and create that environment, we won't stop. We'll have a 2-hour block. Right. And it'll end at 2 hours, and then people are talking for an hour after that, and then 45 minutes in the parking lot, and then it's 4 hours and you're still talking. But also, women tend to say, and there's a stat about this, like at least 10,000 more words than we say a day. And they also have more of a support system. They've got homegirls. Guys don't really talk. We have friends that we do certain things with, like the guys you go watch the game with, the guys you may go out to eat with, the guys you may go on a trip with, right? But many times we're not sitting down having those real life conversations. And so my transparency and my vulnerability, based on me being consistent with that and people coming to me to say, hey, I really appreciate your transparency and your vulnerability, or say thank you, because it gives them the courage to do something that they've never done, whether it's share, whether it's, you know, talk to their wives or be better husbands. Like it just doesn't, it's just different. And so I believe I'm called to do those things. I believe these type of platforms are what I'm here for. My impact and influence is cross-generational, so I can connect with the young and the old, and I'm in the middle. So it really is just something that I believe I'm called to do, and God gives me downloads, and I deliver them, and it's impacting people all across the nation. So yeah.
Like what you do on social media, would you think of it as like a journal where one day you could share, like we didn't have a playbook, right?
Right.
But you could give this to your kids.
Yeah.
And that's their playbook, right? Do you think about it like that?
So it's funny you asked that. I know I don't know if it's going to air, but this is spring break for my kids. And so we were on the couch watching a movie, and we were cuddling. Like my daughter was laying on me, my son was laying on me, and I had all three of them. And I said to them, Daddy didn't get this growing up. I didn't come from, and this is no knock, our parents did the best they could with what they knew, right? We're in the age of information now, so we have access to so many different things, and we can Google something and figure out what that means and apply it to our lives, right? Our parents didn't have that. So it's definitely not a knock, it's just we didn't grow up in that family, and so I'm creating an environment of I love yous and kisses and hugs and good nights and tuck-ins and lullabies and story time, and I date everybody in my house individually, the boys, the girl, like everybody. And so loving on my kids is just something that, you know, in the way they need to be loved. You know, we couldn't talk back to our kids, our parents, like not talk back, but like ask questions.
Oh yeah,
we couldn't say, well, why, mommy? Well, why? This generation, it's a little
because
different.
I said so.
Because I said so. But that doesn't help when they go to school and they hear something, and then you're saying because I said so. So then the person at school is going to have more influence over their lives than you have because you didn't address it. My daughter asked me about sex at 6 years old. In the middle of she was taking a bath. She was like, Daddy, I heard sex is when a boy and a girl stack on top of each other. And I was like, that's not wrong, but
and I'm trying to
I
think
had to answer that in the moment, and that there's no blueprint for that.
And I'm trying to think about like what if you were 6 years old and you asked your mama that?
Boy, what? Listen, I have no idea what would have been said, but I guarantee it would have been handled as gracefully as I handled it with a straight face. I kind of froze like, but I gave her an answer. I don't know what I said, but this was 5 or 6 years ago. But yeah, I said all to say, parenting is much different these days than when we were growing up. So, being someone who is learning more about emotional availability, emotional intelligence, growing up in a family full of women, raising daughters, raising a son, like you have to really navigate differently in this day and age. And I try my best to do, I tell people all the time, God's calling the plays, I'm just running them. And so I try my best to run whatever play he says, even if it doesn't make sense to people.
Folks are gonna be like, "How?" I hear what you're saying, Ryan.
How?
How am I? Especially, I'm speaking to the man, and this is somebody who I feel like I've grown a lot as far as this vulnerability piece. But how? Myself 5 years ago would have been like, I don't even know how to be emotionally available.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I
had to research. I had to learn. I pray, and something will happen, and God will show me in that moment, what I would have done was this. What I should have done, I can do this now. So for instance, I'll give this example. This is super transparent and vulnerable. So there was a night my wife and I were not agreeing.
Yeah.
I was upstairs in my loft playing video games. She was downstairs on the couch. And I couldn't even tell you what we were talking about or disagreeing about in this moment. What I remember is that I was upstairs, she was downstairs, and for 2 hours I texted her. When all I really should have done was gone downstairs and laid with her. The presence, right? And then we could have had that conversation. And it probably would have saved whatever those 2.5 hours was. Yeah. Because obviously, I ain't getting none that night. So that
I mean, it's fair. That's fair.
It would have saved that for one. And also, she wouldn't have felt like I failed her in that moment. She would have felt like I showed up for her. And I didn't show up for her. So hindsight 2020, right?
Yeah.
Going downstairs, been a man, but we let pride get in the way a lot of times. And, one of my pastors, when I lived in D.C., would say, it doesn't matter about who's right. I just want it to work. Like, is that fight really worth the outcome that you can have or the aftermath of what it can be, right? Or if you can just nip it in the bud and spend 20 minutes talking about it and hashing it out as opposed to going 2 days without speaking. And so for me, it's a lot of those are learned behaviors from failures that allow me to get better, but also it really is just being more cognizant and aware of your downfalls. And then also, sometimes your spouse is a mirror that you really don't want to see and you don't want to listen to it. Your kids too. So it's tough to take that information from a woman from an egotistical standpoint to say, you don't know me or you ain't right. Then like 2 hours later, you'd be like, she might be onto something. So I would encourage men that may wonder why. I've read books about it. I listen to books on Audible because I don't sit down and read long enough. But just research, study, and pray, and really just ask God to show me in this moment how can I handle that better.
And it's hard not to shut up. It's hard to shut up and not respond. Sometimes you just gotta I
take notes too.
Yeah.
Like if she's giving me some information, I'll take a note. I'll take notes and say I'm not being rude. I'm listening, but I want to make sure I don't forget anything. And that I don't misconstrue what you said.
Man, you preaching. You preaching.
I'm just
you preaching.
They teach you in therapy.
No, you.
What I heard you say was, and then you repeat it back to them, and then they can say, "Oh, that's not what I meant."
Yeah.
Okay, and then you can clarify it. It's a therapy thing. Man.
Shout out to my therapist, man. I do go to therapy, man. All right, I have more questions. We're gonna go to break here on 704 Unfiltered. That's Ryan Jor. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back here, 704 Unfiltered. Ryan Jor is here on this episode. Let's talk about it. Black Fathers Rock, 9th year.
9th year.
Ooh.
Unreal. I quit 2 years ago, believe it or not. I quit.
What you mean?
Like, I literally quit.
All right, we want to
like, I literally was on stage ending the show and said, I am done. This is the last one. Good night.
And now we are on year 9.
That was 2 years ago, and I had some guys, some former honorees say, we'll help you. Yeah. They got me to year 8, and once I got to year 8, and I had a a sponsor who've been sponsoring the event for the
Yeah.
last 4 years say we're gonna sponsor you for the next 3 to 5 years to do programming, and now we're in year 9 and we're doing programming all over the state of North Carolina. So shout out to Healthy Blue NC for believing in Black Fathers Rock and taking us into 100 different counties in the state of North Carolina. So we're working on trying to get to each one. Some of those rural counties, some of those LMI communities that need to hear the message of fatherhood, no matter the color, race, or creed, just really just making sure that active and present fathers are there and they have the resources they need.
Who did you look to as a father figure? And I asked that because we talked about it last time, but I lost my father at 7, right? And so I didn't know these guys, but I looked at Uncle Phil. I looked at.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah.
TV Dads.
I looked at TV Dads.
I had to believe it.
We were talking
Go watch
about
the
TV
other one.
Dads.
Go watch the other one. Jesus, Lord, help me. So bad.
I looked at TV Dads, and one thing, you know what's crazy? Months after that interview last year, go back and watch it right now. I was having a therapy session, and my therapist landed on, man, you know why you never had a father figure? I'm paraphrasing. It's because you were too busy being your own father. And I was like, that hurt.
What's your therapist name? I need a new one.
I got you. We'll talk offline. I got you. I was like,
Mine retired.
I was like, that hurts.
That's crazy.
Did you ever feel like that at all?
So I'm the oldest. It's just me, my brother and I. We're 4 years apart. And so I've been working since I was 14. So 30 years now that I've been working. And I moved out at 18, 19, bought my own car at 18. It was $300. I'm not going to tell you what it was. It's terrible. But I also grew up without a dad. Now, when it came to father figures, and I lean on the guys in the church a lot, Brother Darrell Vaughn, Brother Thomas O'Banner, and Bishop Jen Wright were really those people that kept a knucklehead together. Those were some people that really, that's who I look to. You know, Bishop was a daddy, a girl dad, which is a new phrase, but he was a girl dad before there were girl dads. And I watched how he was with his daughter, and he was fly. I watched him, the way he dressed, the way he took care of his wife. And those are really people that I look to, men in the church. I didn't have anybody family-wise. My uncle is a little bit older than me, but he worked so much and was an engineer at the time and managing restaurants. So like he wasn't around as much. So I kind of was the oldest. I don't think I was a dad, but I definitely had to grow up faster than my brother for sure. So that's, I didn't have many role models per se from a male perspective. A lot of things I had to figure out. And I tell people all the time, like, I know how to change a tire and I know certain things about parts of a car because I had an old car and I had to learn. But I'm not changing anybody's oil because I also was never taught how to change oil because, again, there are no men in my family, right? It's my brother, my uncle, and I, and my cousin. Like, that's it. So I wasn't raised in that environment to know. Now, can I cook? Can I clean? Can I keep a house? Absolutely, because I was raised around a mother who believed in Saturday morning cleanings, top to bottom, scrubbing baseboards, playing music in the background. 90s R&B is the greatest. And so because of that,
shout out to Anita.
Yeah, because of that, like I am who I am, right? But I'm not a hands dirty kind of guy. I've been dressing this is terrible. I've been dressing like this since I was a kid, literally, like dressing up, putting on clothes. Didn't own many sneakers until probably 5 or 6 years ago because of my mom's instilling in me what I should look like when I left the house. No matter if I was going to the grocery store, if I was going to the gas station, and especially now with people being so well known, I can't really go anywhere without someone seeing me. And that's not a boisterous thing. It's just I've been in the city 30 years. I was outside. So because of that, I'm well known, right? Big church, big school. I host events throughout the city, so it's really one of those things. It's just who I am. But growing up, it was hard to find those role models. And I didn't do the TV dad thing, but the men in the church really shaped me. And some of them see me now and like, I'm so proud of you. So it's nice to all those people that rounded me up. Brother Bernie, Deacon Bernie, Minister Bernie, James Bernie. Like, these people, like, they snatched me up if I did anything wrong.
Shout out to Deacon Bernie.
You know Deacon Bernie?
No, I don't. But you said it with conviction. I was like, I think I know what Deacon Bernie. I know what Deacon Bernie. I do want to say this, man. Brother, I am proud of you, man.
Oh, thank you, man.
We don't say this enough in these spaces, but I am proud of you, man. I love the work that you're doing. I see you being vulnerable. It inspires me to be vulnerable. It inspires me to be a go-getter. It inspires me to be one day a great dad. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you, man.
I really do appreciate it. I know a lot of folks appreciate that, and this is what this platform is about: having these open conversations. I know we jumped the timeline a lot.
That's okay.
But hey, man,
I'll be back.
You will be back. We'll be back.
I told them to give me my own show. All right, so
Hey,
you
man,
can. I know Jeff I got 26 seconds, but I need my own talk show. I am vying for now. And listen, if you won't give it to me, the age of the internet, somebody go give it to me.
Well, okay, close out the show then. Close out the show.
Oh, listen, This was 704 Unfiltered. I am Ryan Jor, CEO, founder of Black Fathers Rock, here with Nick Sturdivant. He hosts so many shows, he forgets the name of them. But he's the man. He always brings me back. A member of the greatest fraternity in the world, Kappa Psi Fraternity Incorporated. We'll see you soon. Ciao.